My name is Sandy Johnson, and my son, Hank Johnson, was murdered in Hearne, Texas. I didn't know anything about Hearne at all. All I knew was he was going there to work at the Oak Grove power plant for a fiberglass company here in Pasadena. And when he left that day, I expected that he would be back the next weekend. He had already been working there about a month, and he said that his job was about over and that he would be going home back to Pasadena, Texas on Thursday night, July 10th, 2008. He was robbed and beaten. He was found on the floor of his motel room, the Executive Inn, 125. And about 5 o'clock in the morning, when I arrived at the hospital, and I'm wondering why it took so long for him to get to a hospital, my daughter and I were waiting and waiting, and we finally found out that he was taken to Bryan, Texas at St. Joseph Hospital there. And when we walked in, my son was unrecognizable, and they told me immediately they brought him in like this. And my fears, my nightmare began at that time, and they told me that my son would not live, that I should take him off life support. And indeed, 11 days later, I did. I had to let my son go, and he has 2 children, a sister, a family who loves him very much. He was and is somebody. And 3 months later, I found out that a man who had been the cook at the restaurant within a few feet of my son's door had been murdered. He had been gunned down in front of his home after getting off work, he and his friend Shandell Lewis. Then 1 year had passed since that July 10th in 2009, and I found out something else. I found out in that October that the movie American Violet had come out, and it was about John Paschall, the district attorney in Robertson County. And then I found out that his brother-in-law, Billy Blackburn, knew days before my son was beaten that the attack was imminent by a very violent offender, Ralph Martinez. And nothing was done. And that it took 3 hours to get my son to a hospital. And that there was a helicopter and an ambulance there and a hospital 28 minutes away. Now up to the present time, it's been 4 years. My son's exhumation, as it was told to me by the Bryan District Attorney's Office, Bill Turner, that my son's DNA was lost by the Texas Rangers, and they couldn't explain to me why. Also, the case had been closed 4 times, taken to the grand jury 4 times with no indictment. I had gone to the civil murder case in Waco, Texas, federal courthouse, where Trey Thompson was found to be guilty of beating and causing my son's murder, which all the evidence and everything was turned over to Robertson County DA John Paschall and Brazos County DA Bill Turner, and within a week my son's case was closed. It is now a cold case, awaiting strong evidence, they say, although there are witnesses. There are more than 5 witnesses, and I was told by John Paschall that I should, for any more information about my son, Hank Johnson, I should just call God. So I have been investigating my own son's murder for 4 years now.
Refused the DA, officer refused, the DA even told his employees not to talk to me. She's a conspiracy freak, and she's irrelevant in this case. Another woman came forward and pointed police toward another man, Torrance Proctor. The woman's sister was dating Proctor at the time, and according to a written statement, Proctor, who went by the nickname Trey, confessed to the killing. It reads, Trey repeated to me he was not going to be able to see my sister for a long time because he had just shot and killed 2 people. Trey also stated that the next door neighbor just got home from work. I told him to come forward and tell the truth. Even though part of her statement matches up with Paschall's story. Mr. Munson was employed at a local cafe and had been off work maybe less than 30 minutes, and he lived next door, or at the house where Mr. Lewis had pulled his truck into. There's no record of police ever following up with arrests, and the investigators involved refused to speak to News 3 about the story. Eventually, Proctor was cleared, and investigators began to narrow in on a man with a long rap sheet, Denard Anderson. Boxley says Anderson didn't have ties with her cousin, and to this day, she wonders why prosecutors never probed the other possible suspects in the case. We feel that there was definitely something that went on. I feel that there are suspects that have committed this crime and just are being looked over. Paschall calls the murders a drug deal gone bad, but Boxley doesn't buy it. If it was a big drug cover, why aren't the people who actually called and set up the deals, like, why aren't they arrested? Like, my thing is, what ties does he have with these people?
One day, I was asked to listen in on John Paschall's conversation when the double murder happened of Shandell Lewis and Harry Monson, and there was a girl who was calling in, and she had evidence of a confession of a man that had killed them. And she had turned it in and everything, and she was trying to explain to John Paschall what she had done and what she heard and everything. Her sister had turned it in to the Hearne Police Department. And then I heard John Paschall say, there was no shooting. No one was shot. And I was like, taken back, because they were actually shot to death. Shandell and Harry were both shot about 4 or 5 times each. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I don't think that the girl that was calling in about her sister believed it either. And since then, I have really paid attention to what's going on in the John Paschall campaign.
I get the Mr. John Paschall? I'll check to see if I'm on this call. We'll check her. To the phone.